That might be the biggest misevaluation of talent you'll see. Russell Wilson cannot complete a pass. He's fighting for his life out there. Look at him in the Chicago game. Brian Daboll, the coach who got fired, was scared to even stick him in there on the half-yard line, wouldn't go for it. And then you have to ask yourself this. If you had let that be a competition, it would be Jackson Dart, Jameis Winston, and Russell would have been the emergency quarterback. But instead, you wasted 3 weeks, and Russell Wilson was your starter. They're calling it the biggest misevaluation in the last 5 years in Giants history.
I'm fucking getting furious as I look at these things. When you look at these things and look at who he's drafted, you're fired.
You're fired. You're fired. Welcome back to Schwartz on Sports. It's Ozone, it's Ryder, and we're rolling on a fine Saturday morning. We got the Week 11 spread, the toughest picks you gotta know, the biggest takeaways from Week 10, and the Giants head coach candidates, along with Joe Schoen's evaluation of a general manager, his draft picks, his signings, everything you need to know. Let's get into it, Mr. O. Rattle me off with his 2023 draft picks. Joe Schoen.
You want to go right to draft picks, huh? You want to start with the absolute shit part of the podcast. Let's go back to, wasn't he 2022?
2022, give it to me.
We're going to go down these draft picks, folks, and just inhale these. First round, number 5th pick, Kayvon Thibodeau. First round, number 7th pick, Evan O'Neal. Second round, number 43 pick. Let's put that into perspective. T. Higgins was a second rounder. Wan'Dale Robinson. Third round, number 67 pick. Third round offensive lineman. I can give you 10 in the league that are starting potential all-pros that are third rounder. Josh Aduza. Third round, number 81 pick, Cordell Flott. Fourth round, number 112, Bellinger. Fourth round, 114, Belton. Fifth round, 147, Micah McFadden. 3 fucking guys from 5, 6, and 7 you never heard of and will never hear again. Marcus McKeithen, Darian Beavers. When I saw him play, it looked like he was literally running a 5.5 40. He was so slow. I don't know. I'm like, what scout looked at that guy? And Mikael Johnson. Okay, let's just take a quick timeout on that. So I'm going to go down my list of bust or non-bust. First round, Thibodeau, bust. Number 5 pick, you got to be a stud. Evan Neal, one of the greatest busts of all time. Wan'Dale Robinson, at the second round, 43rd pick, you're a bust. Aduza, bust. But marginal. Bollinger, marginal. Belton, marginal. McFadden, maybe the stud of that freaking draft. Injured. That is that draft, dude. Let's go to 2023. Now, comments.
Yeah, so so a lot of the times, obviously, they always say your vision in hindsight is 2020. You can always see it so much better. So when I go through and I look at this, I ask myself, at the time, what was the consensus? So obviously, I'll go from the bottom up. So Darian Beavers, joke. McKeithen, joke. DJ Davidson, joke. Now you get to Micah McFadden. Now that's actually a pretty good pick in the 5th round. He is injured, but he's actually been a really good linebacker for us. Dane Belton, 4th round pick. I don't mind it in the 4th round because, like you said, marginal. He can play. He isn't anything special, though. You go to Daniel Bellinger. He's been a decent contributor. Is he a quarter of a Pro Bowler? Not even close. Can he play? Yes. 4th rounder, whatever. Cordell Flott had some bumpy starts. Has he gotten a lot better? Does he now start? Is he pretty good? Yeah, that's a decent pick. Then you get to Joshua Zudu, 3rd rounder, like you said, he is cut. We can't even play the guy. Wan'Dale Robinson, he's a solid wide receiver 3. I would take him any day to be my wide receiver 3. Taken 43 overall, you're not trying to get a wide receiver 3, you're trying to get a wide receiver 1. So from that perspective,
he's a 5th rounder. Exactly. He's a 5th rounder disguising. And this is, and take a step back, when you're looking at the draft, historically, you always look at this. Your first 3 rounds have to be players that play. They have to be guys that make your team. Now, your 4th, 5th, and 6th, that's all about draft acumen, right? Can you get 2 or 3, right? Can you get practice players? Can you get, special teams guys? Can you get 1 or 2 studs? Baltimore used to get starters off their 5th round. So I always grade how did we do with our first 3 rounds? We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picks. There is not one defined star, not even one defined B player in all of those picks. That's a fucking disaster.
Yeah, so that's a problem there. And then you go to the first round, right? This was the year we had 11 picks this round. So Evan Neal's a bust. We all know that. And Kayvon Thibodeau's taken 5th overall. When you take a guy in the top 10, if they're anything short of a multi-time All-Pro, it's not what you expected them to be. When you take guys top 10, you're expecting Hall of Famers. Period. End of story. So with Kayvon Thibodeau, is he a decent edge rusher? He's a pretty decent edge rusher, right? I think he has double-digit sacks once in his career. That's not exceptional. That's not great. It's okay. But the one thing I will point out when it comes to Evan Neal and when it comes to Kayvon Thibodeau, at the time, right? And we're not the people doing the interviews. We're not looking into the off-the-field activities. We're not doing the personal investigations like the general manager would. But at the time, the consensus was Evan Neal's the best tackle in the draft. At the time, it was that Kayvon Thibodeau is a stud defensive end. So I wouldn't call these are awful picks, but how much of that, my question, is coaching, right? We see players come here like Tyler Nubin and Andrew Phillips. They've regressed in their second year. So my question is, are these good picks that are becoming busts because of how bad the coaching and development was? And we can also see that there's evidence that points to that with the players leaving and becoming better, a.k.a. McKinney, Barkley, and many more. So that's what I'm asking you is, how much of that is a bad pick or bad development and bad coaching, or a mix of both?
How deep you get into drafts before the draft starts? Because I get pretty deep into it. So I'm going to the draft right now. So Kayvon Thibodeau's probably the bigger miss because coming out, he was a high-ranked defensive end that played against a softer schedule, right? So you're like, okay, is he going to put that numbers up? The risk around him was always, he's a little bit of a me guy. His mom was his agent back then. He was a little bit of like, I want to say a defensive version of Caleb Williams, right? A little bit of a shove, like a little bit of a, I got to be in this limelight, right? Not kind of your lunch pail guy like a Joey Bosa, like the Bosa guy. So that was always the thing around him. Proved out to exactly be that guy. He's such a little showboat, not really a dig down guy. Evan Neal's where these guys fucked up, because Evan Neal, you remember that draft? The number one thing they said about him was he was a slow-footed lineman. Slow-footed lineman that won in the SEC by just being bigger. Now, you had guys behind him like Charles Cross, dude, 5-time All-Pro at at Seattle. Just one of the most dominant guys up there, dude. You could have traded down and gotten Tyler Lindenbaum. You could have traded down and got an All-Pro center. They really effed up with that, dude. That was just bad analysis going in. Nobody's going to make that guy into a good player. So that's just a bad draft, dude. And look at the guys we left. We picked Thibodeau and Neal. And we had guys out there like London, Cross, Wilson, Olave, Jordan Davis, Kyle Hamilton. When you miss on guys like that and grab shit like we did, that's brutal. Brutal. But you know something? Folks, we can spend too much time on 1 year. I'm going to tell you this before we get going. 2022 was one of their better drafts. This is what's going to get alarming. 2022 was one of this regime's better drafts. Because let's go to 2023. Okay? Here's your 2023 draft, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to start with the 7th rounders. Ever hear of these guys? Jordan Riley, Javarius Owens? Never. Here's your 6th rounder, Trey Hawkins III. Nope. Rick Gray, 5th round. Sucks. Here comes your 1st, 2nd, and 3rd rounders out of a 2023 draft. Banks, Schmitz, Hyatt. I'm going to go down and stick my neck out for a guy that's watched drafts for years saying, historically, that may be one of the worst drafts in history out of a 1st, 2nd, 3rd rounder. Go ahead, Mr.
So, bottom up, right? Javarius Owens, we tried him out. Bum. Not good, right? They're 7th rounders, so you're not expecting anything great, but Jordan Riley, bum. Bum, right? Trey Hawkins, I remember we tried him out from Old Dominion, a smaller guy. Pretty crappy pick in general. Guys don't work out that are that small, especially from Old Dominion. He's a bust. He's done. Eric Gray, we tried to play him. He had a few highlight reels. I think he had a nice screen against Seattle maybe last year. He's done. Now you get to the meat of the bone, right? You get to Jalen Hyatt. You get to Jalen Hyatt, who, let's not forget, folks, we traded up for Jalen Hyatt. We traded up for him. We spent capital trying to get this guy. It was a year where we were wanting receivers, Jackson Smithing, Jigba, Quentin Johnson. It was supposed to be a good class. We trade up and get Jalen Hyatt. He's unplayable. Unplayable. Then you get to John Michael Smith, who I will say has gotten better this year, but at the time, let's not forget, they were saying he was the best center in the draft.
Dude, they were saying 10-year All-Pro on this loser. And let's be honest with ourselves. The only reason we're light on him is because he's gone from a D- to a C. Let's not kid ourselves here. It's not like this guy went from a C to an A. He basically was unserviceable the past couple of years. Dude, Daniel Jones got destroyed because this guy couldn't stop anybody up the middle. Jesus. And now he's gone. Look what happens when you go to an all-pro center. They don't touch him over there. So Schmitz, bust.
And then you get to the other one, who we traded up for. We traded draft capital to secure this player. And let's not forget who we took him over. Joey Porter Jr., who is a stud for Pittsburgh. So it's Deonte Banks. Now, now that's a bad pick. He's a bust. And there's no way to shortcut that. Now, I'll ask you this, Mr. O. Deonte Banks, his first season was his best. He actually had a few interceptions. He played decent ball. Year 2, last year, he was awful. Year 3, this year, he's not playable. So again, I'll ask you this. If they're regressing, how much of that is coaching?
Well, listen, you talk about an interesting thing because his best year was under who?
Wink.
100%.
Martindale.
So, I mean, Martindale's famous for getting really good shit. Look at the Ravens. I mean, he knows how to coach D-backs. I mean, I think it could be a little bit of both. I've watched this guy. All I got to do is go to that Washington tape. And has he always been an absolute pussy on the field? Yes, he is. Did he, I think Giants were excited about him because he was a big corner. He looked big, looked fast. But when you watch him, is he a dumb player? Yeah, he's a fucking dumb player. He's a dumb player. So I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit coaching. I do agree we're not getting players better. But again, when you trade up for a first-round corner, right? This is like they say in the draft. You've heard it too long. They'll say this every year. First-round corners have got to be guys that you close your eyes on, right? Who's that kid for Philly? Look at the Quentin Mitchell and those. They get corners and that's it. You shut down the side of the field. We're not worrying. We're going to worry about the rest of the defense. So, no. I mean, that is, again, you go back to we're going to grade it. Just like we graded 2022. First 3 rounds, D-. 2023. First 3 rounds, D-. I won't give you an F because an F would be all 3 players out of the league. But like you said, on 2023, 2 of your first 3 players are unplayable right now. Thinks is probably a cancer in the clubhouse. We know he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, they're awful. Let's go 2022.
2024. 2024 looked much better last year than this year. And now you're going to get into the coaching of maybe it's coaching. Let's start from the bottom up. Linebacker. Not bad, dude. I mean, I tell you, for a 6th-rounder, he's actually made the team. In the 5th round, Tyrone Tracy. I'll give him probably the best value pick I've seen this guy's make to date. 5th-rounder. Is he a stud? No. He's a running back that can play on a shitty team, but he's okay. Theo Johnson, 4th round. Okay. Right? If his hands were a little better, he might be a little better than okay, but he's okay. Drew Phillips, much better last year than this year, regressing. Maybe that's coaching, but decent pick. Tyler Nubin, I'll push on that a little bit for a 2nd rounder. I want a little more, but he's not a bad pick. It's not like he's getting blown up. And then Neighbors. Neighbors, I think, where my head's at Neighbors. I love him to death, but he is a little bit to be determined because he's fallen a little bit into the what? Injury bucket.
Yeah, so Malik Neighbors, and ideally he is a top 5 receiver when he's on the field when he's healthy. Now, Does he have attitude issues? Yeah, you can tell sometimes he has the attitude problem, screaming at Brian Dable. Does he have injury issues? It was the concussions last year. He's a little bit flimsy, not as physical, not a bigger guy like DK, not as strong as Jamar Chase, and now the ACL, right? So we have those concerns with him, but he's talent-wise, it's a great pick from that position. Like you said, Masao, the linebacker, he's able to play for us. Tyrone Tracy Jr., he's been a contributor. He's a serviceable starter. Nothing special, not a Pro Bowler. Theo Johnson's biggest problem is he can't catch the ball, right? But if he could catch the ball, he's a very. You saw what he did in the Niners game, those touchdowns, right? He has the physical attributes where he can make plays. Andrew Phillips and Tyler Nubin, these are the two highlights that I want to hit on. So they had great rookie years. They were really good last year. Now you take a look at this year. What's Andrew Phillips' biggest problem? Coverage. He's great with tackling. He never misses the tackles. He always makes the tackles you need him to make in big moments. He's a physical player. He's not a talker, he's a hitter, and I like that about him. But the penalties in the secondary, he can't cover. And as a corner, that's pretty much an issue. Tyler Nubin, he got beat over the top from Rashid Shaheed in that Saints game, and he just misses tackles. When Saquon Barkley had that big run in the second Eagles game, it was Nubin's fault. So Nubin's had the biggest regression of any of these players. My main point is, at the time, these are great. A lot of these are great draft picks, right? Nobody wanted J.J. McCarthy over Malik Neighbors. Dave Gettleman would have made that pick. Joe Schoen didn't. So now you come into year one, and we're like, oh gosh, this is a great draft. Everyone's playing exceptionally well. Then you come into year two, Malik Neighbors is hurt. Tyler Nubin and Andrew Phillips are pretty bad players this year. Theo Johnson can't catch the ball. Tyrone Tracy's half the player was last year and injured. And Darius Masao, 6th-round pick, will excuse him. So my point is, year one to year two, you're never supposed to get worse. You're always supposed to at least get better and grow. And there's a pattern. Look at the last draft. Look at the one before that in 2022. They're all getting worse second year. Most of them always get worse second year. And I'm going to tell you, that is coaching. And I think we give Joe Schoen a lot of heat for a lot of these bad picks, and he deserves a lot of that. But we need to take a lot of that heat and bring
it's not a bad line. You bring up a good point. And I look at, you just look at, like, again, you always look at, and I think the bigger thing is you always group those top 3 picks in for a special reason, because when you watch HBO does a great job with Hard Knocks, and when you start to see the amount of consideration, meaning, these guys aren't just freaking, pulling numbers out of a hat. They've researched so many of these players from their junior year, sophomore year on campus. The point is, like, I'll give you an example. Why did I use that as a line? Like Malik Neighbors. Do I consider that a giant? Their draft team made some crazy discovery? No. Everybody knew Malik Neighbors was a top. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody knew. But the question is, like, a Deontay Banks. Yeah, that's when you surprise the draft and say nobody expected that. Hence the Mel Kiper, you're coming out of nowhere. So that's where I give these guys a little more damage on the draft picks, meaning they've been good with the obvious picks. Abdul Carter, that's coming up. Neighbors, you follow me? But when they've got to put their research in, they really suck. Now, you bring a good point up on development. No. When I look at this, this is an interesting exercise. You go over this list and start doing stuff like, in business, you could say stuff like, look at each player and then plus minus their progression from when they came to the Giants. Everyone would have a negative grade. Everyone would have a negative grade.
Yeah, and that's a problem. You can't have that. So let's hit 2025. Let's see the pattern here.
Well, listen, if I'm going to take that, I could start drawing a line of maybe the 2024 and 2025 drafts were getting better, just not developed. Let's go to 2025. This is more, I'm going to cry because this is, I think, a pretty good draft that just blew up in our face. Abdul Carter 1. We'll talk about him in a second. Dart fucking home run. Let's call it the way you see it. Dart home run. Darius Alexander, round 3. So you have 2 first-rounders, Abdul Carter, Jackson Dart. A lot of research done in both of them. I'd say those are both. I'll give Dart an A. I give Abdul Carter a B right now. Darius Alexander, he's making some noise in there, but I'm not going to blame him because I think Shane Bowen is a fucking F. So Like I feel bad for Darius Alexander. I'm like, you need a new coach. Scatterbo, right? Home run. Embo's Embo. Home run, right? Fedone, you don't really see him. Corey Black, he actually got stuffed into the lineup a couple times. I'll give it to him, dude. Even though you're shaking your head, but even the seventh, dude, we had seventh rounders before where we didn't even know their fucking name. Like, they didn't even make it off of the practice. So the fact that this guy's even showing time, I'm like, I'll give it to him. I'll give it to him. So this draft, in my eyes, potentially, and maybe that was why they got Dable out of there, because, like, we got to coach these guys up. This may be the best draft.
100%. Like you said, Corey Black. Look at the previous 7 rounders. We don't even know who they are. So the fact that he's playing, look. I think it might be a reflection of the lack of depth, but on the same line, he's playing. A 7th rounder can play. We'll take it. Thomas Fedone, he's got some injury problems. I'm pretty sure in high school, along with Brock Bowers, actually a quick fun fact, he was ranked, I think, #1 tight end, and then he just had injuries that derailed his future. 2 ACLs. Sad story with Fedone, but he's got some talent there, so I don't mind the pick whatsoever. And then Bo. Everyone's going crazy over Bo in the preseason because of how well he was doing. We stick him in that Dallas game. He actually didn't do too bad. So at a 5th round pick, you can develop him, stick him inside in the future years, make him be a good guard. I'll take him.
I stick him as a guard right next to Andrew Thomas right now. I don't know why I'm doing that. I would stick him next to Andrew Thomas, lock down that fucking side of the line right there. Nasty young guys. That's it.
And then you hit Cam Scottaboo. He fell. A lot of teams are going to say, oh, shoot. Why didn't we take that guy in round 3, round 2?
A lot of guys are saying if you redrafted, he's ahead of Janty.
Yeah.
I mean, so this was a good draft. I'm not going to beat Shane, but this is a good draft. I mean,
one thing I will say, though, about Jackson Dart, that selection, I'm hearing a lot of noise, and I believe that this will probably come out to be true. That was all Brian Daboll. If you look at the Hard Knocks clips, there was a clip of Joe Schoen saying, all right, we're going to go get your guy. So I would not credit Joe Schoen whatsoever with that dart pick. Now, did he make it happen? Yes. Did he do it without giving up a lot of capital? Yeah, he actually did. He actually did a pretty good job of doing that. But I'll give all the credit there to Brian Daboll. That's Brian Daboll's guy. But still, even removing Dart, it's still a really good draft. Do we want to see more from Abdul? Yeah, but is he a rookie? Yes. Will it take time to develop him? Hopefully we can do that. But overall, a pretty good draft there. So from the draft perspective, he's definitely getting better, right? We're hitting the obvious picks, and we're hitting some gems, right? McFadden, Tracy, Bo, Scottaboo. So I don't hate anything in the draft, and a lot of the misses, like I already talked about, I'll attribute that to some coaching. Now, where my concern comes into play, Mr. Rowe, and I know you definitely have similar concerns, a lot of it comes down to his free agency. So
I'm on it right now.
Hit it.
So I was a step ahead of you. I'm on it. Let's go quickly. 2022, Tyrod Taylor, Mark Lewinsky, Joe Feliciano, Matt Breida, Ricky Seals-Jones, CJ Board. Absolute shit show. I don't even know if I see any of the. I mean, listen, I know the NFL pretty well. Lewinsky was already done. Tyrod Taylor's out already. So that 2022 class, this is the problem. You rate Shane draft in this. His first draft class was a D- his first time there, and his free agent class is an F. Let's go to 2023. Bobby Okereke, Paris Campbell. I thought he had more, but that's all I got.
Paris Campbell, that's a disappointment right there. That was a really bad Simon.
Okereke, not bad, but he's not a difference-making linebacker in my head. Makes a lot of tackles, but makes them behind the line of scrimmage. 2024 offseason, this may be his home run only because Brian Burns. You got Brian Burns. Yep. Without Brian Burns, we're dead. John Runyon, overrated, waste of money. Devin Singletary, we paid him way too much money for an aging back. What the hell's going on? Doesn't even see the field. Isaiah McKenzie, who? What the hell are you talking about? Another shit signing. Greg Van Roten, marginal guard.
Yeah, marginal. That's exactly right.
And then 2025, here's your humdinger. Russell, what the fuck were you doing signing Russell Wilson? I mean, listen, let's go down that. I mean, take away that Dallas game, and it looks like he forgot how to play football. Really. Jameis, great signing, kept the clubhouse together. Adebo, I hate to say it, slightly overrated. Holland, very overrated. Now you see why they ran him out of town for what's his name, the safety for. They basically swapped him for
Minka. Yeah.
Chauncey Golston, Haven't heard his name called that much. James Hudson, nope. We re-signed Chris Board after we signed him 3 years ago, and then signed Darius Slayton to a contract. I'm like, what are you fucking doing? Roy Robert Harrison has played okay.
He's been a good run stuffer. And so when you go down to it, we start with the Daniel Jones situation. So at the time, coming off that playoff win, right, you're in a situation where quarterbacks are a necessity. They're very hard to find. Would I have probably tagged him? Yeah. Do you sign him to a 4-year, $160 million deal? Yeah, and that's not a good signing whatsoever. Do you tag Barkley and then let him walk? Yeah, so here's my problem with that. I'm okay with tagging Barkley. I'm okay with not extending him. I didn't think it was the best for the team at the time. I didn't think we needed that in a rebuild year, right? But why didn't you trade Saquon Barkley? You could have traded him, got second, first-round picks for the guy. Instead, you let him walk to your division rival, and they win a Super Bowl as a result of that. That's really bad. That's one of the worst mistakes in Giants history. So I have a big problem with that. Then you go down to the Darren Waller trade. So it didn't really turn out being that bad. He was just injured, and we wound up getting another pick when he was traded to the Dolphins, so I don't care too much about that. But here's the biggest problem I have. I'm going to list you a few of them. You hit it. James Hudson. We spent $12 million on James Hudson. Unplayable. Then you go to Darius Slayton. We signed Darius Slayton to a $36 million 3-year deal. He can't catch. He had a great game last week. He'll give you one of those in 2 years. He'll give you once every 2 years. He'll give you a great game. That's it. Can't catch the ball, and he's a crybaby, and he talks on social media. Came out a few weeks ago, and he said, don't make the rest of the Giants receivers sound like bums when we were talking about how good Malik Neighbors was. He came out, and he was awful. Every single week before last week has been atrocious. And guess what? He's injured again this week, and he had the hamstring earlier than that. Then you look at Xavier McKinney. Why in the hell would you let Xavier McKinney walk away, an all-pro safety, and then a year later sign Javon Holland to the exact same contract, who's half the player? Half the player he was. And then you get to Russell Wilson, and you said this. That might be the biggest misevaluation of talent you'll see. Russell Wilson cannot complete a pass. He's fighting for his life out there. Look at him in the Chicago game. Brian Daboll, the coach who got fired, was scared to even stick him in there on the half-yard line, wouldn't go for it. And then you have to ask yourself this. Go back to training camp. Go back to preseason. Russell Wilson was the named starter. And everyone's coming out and saying, if you had let that be a competition, it would be Jackson Dart, Jameis Winston, and Russell would have been the emergency quarterback. But instead, you wasted 3 weeks, and you did no competition, and Russell Wilson was your starter. They're calling it the biggest misevaluation in the last 5 years in Giants history.
You got a couple other guys. I mean, it just shows you how we lost our roster, right? You lost Barkley, you lost McKinney, you lost DJ, but then you also lost guys like, and I'm not saying they're great. You let Adoree Jackson go. He's probably the best corner on our team right now. You let Ben Bredeson go. Remember him? This also goes to your thing of bad coaching. You let Ben Bredeson go. He was on part of our bad offensive lines. Now he's anchoring the Tampa offensive line. He mysteriously went from shitty offensive lineman on our team to great offensive lineman on their team, right? You got Julian Love, right? We let him go. He's part of a nasty Seattle defense right now. So you see that. It's like, and then you wonder why our team is so thin of talent. It's like, well, it's really easy. We've made really bad decisions of letting talented players go, and then we spent money on guys that have fucking no talent. Or if it's going down your logic track, which could be actually a double negative, which is, and that's kind of why I think we are. Not only are you making bad moves on the talent, but then you're not developing the talent when you make the bad moves. And if you got that double negative going on, that's why we're freaking 4 and fucking 13 every year.
That's why. And the other big problem with letting guys like Saquon, Julian Love, Xavier McKinney walk, you saw this with the Pittsburgh defense. Those are your leaders. Those are your captains. Those are the guys that the rookies come in and look up to. Those are the anchors in the locker room. Those are the men leading the team. And you saw this last year. When you take out Xavier McKinney, who falls apart? Deonte Banks. When you remove these leaders, your rookies, they start to collapse, right? You see backlash from players like Malik Neighbors. Because guess what? Look at the Giants' leaders right now. Andrew Thomas,
They're quiet
Dexter
guys.
Lawrence. They're quiet guys.
They're
You hit
quiet
on
guys.
that. They're
But
not
you've heard
outspoken.
that. If you remember last year when DJ was here and he was getting the shit kicked out of him, DJ used to always say that. And all the Giant insiders used to say it here, which was your biggest loss with Saquon wasn't his yards on the field. He was the fucking locker room guy. Like Saquon was the guy and he was such a good guy. Like he was, all the rookies went to him, dude. He kept the offensive line together. He was, people you didn't realize after the fact, he was Jonesy's best friend. Like he was Jonesy's best friend, dude. Like, and that's why everybody was like, the minute you let Saquon go, that locker room fell apart. 100%.
The locker room fell apart, exactly. And there's no one else to blame besides that is Joe Schoen. Joe Schoen's the guy to blame that. All right, so now I want to head over to the New York Giants head coaching candidates. So there's different categories I want to hit here. Let's start with employed coaches. All right, I'll list you a few. Mike Tomlin, Kevin Stefanski, Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, Jeff Hafley, defensive coordinator for the Packers, the defense coordinator for the Chargers, and then another hot name that's recently arisen, Matt LaFleur, head coach for the Green Bay Packers.
You want to hear the big name that arose in New York last night, the last couple of days? Throw this in the mix. Andrew Reid.
I've never heard of him.
Andy Reid, he only coaches Kansas City. And the line around Andy Reid has Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey's going to retire this year. Has Patrick Mahomes hit the kind of peak of his career? It's going to be a more difficult game coming down from that. And can you convince Andy Reid to come here and mold a young new quarterback that is quickly becoming the New York dream scenario? And then guess what? Like New York would say, who would he bring us as defensive coordinator? Spags, come with me. Listen, that's a fucking little bit of pipe dream, but I can tell you, there in New York, that kind of hit the airways in New York a couple days ago, and that's quickly become like, is there a way you can make that happen?
Hell no. The chances of that happening are 0 in 100. There is a 0% chance.
I kind of believe, like, are you going to leave a Hall of Fame quarterback in the middle of his career?
I promise you, unicorns will become real before that ever even becomes a figment of anyone's imagination in the NFL. I promise you, it's never happened in a million years. I would pay a lot of money to have that happen, but that will never happen. Never in a million years. Never. That's like when the Knicks were trying to get Spoelstra from the Heat. Never. Never in a million years would that ever occur.
That might be actually tougher than Spoelstra from the Heat. Like that could be like degrees tougher than that. But yeah.
Never happening.
Right,
Promise you. I wish.
I could tell you who Francesa likes and then shoot down this list.
All right. So we hit on those, right? There's a few names I want to circle. First off, Kevin Stefanski. And I think it was Connor Hughes who came out on The Fan and said that this would be the Mike Vrabel hire of this draft class. And so he's a two-time coach of the year. He took the Browns 11-6 to the playoffs a few years back with Joe Flacco. He's a very smart offensive mind, and a lot of the times that Cleveland defense plays very well. And who's their defense coordinator? Jim Schwartz, who would, yes, follow and come to New York.
I'd probably take that package. I kind of like that package. I take that package. I like that package, to be honest with you. I love Jim Schwartz, super fucking aggressive. And he's an ex-Philly guy. And my only problem with Stefanski is I can't figure out has he lost his fastball. Like, there's a lot of guys who are like, you cannot win there. You're just not making it work.
Yeah, and has he ever had a quarterback? I mean, he couldn't work with Baker, right? And that's a little bit of a knock on him, right? Because Baker's obviously a stud, but he couldn't work with Baker. But then you also have to look at the perspective that you just said. Bill Belichick was in Cleveland, right? He didn't work out there. Then he became the greatest coach of all time, right? No one succeeds in Cleveland. Who else? Todd Bowles. Look at Todd Bowles. Couldn't succeed in the Jets organization. Now he's great for the Bucks. So the Jets, the Browns, right? Maybe the Titans. Like, there's a few organizations that you just don't succeed in, right? And the Browns and Jets will be at the top of that list. So if you give Stefanski a quarterback, just like if you give Mike Vrabel a quarterback, how good are they going to be? And that was the point Connor Hughes made. So I would not mind that package at all. You just have to ask yourself, is he getting fired? Very well could be fired, right? Very well could be fired. The other employed candidates, the head coaches that we have to hit, I know you've heard this a lot lately, Mike Tomlin. And then Matt LaFleur. Less likely, but Mike Tomlin never had a losing season for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it's looking like this year could be that. And after 17, 18, 19 years of being in Pittsburgh, the fans, the organization, were starting to get the feel from the outside looking in that his time may be coming to an end in Pittsburgh. They may want something new. So would you go for Mike Tomlin? Now, I've heard some negative perspectives saying, oh, I don't want to be 9-8 every year. He's a defensive mind. He hasn't won a playoff game in 9 years, right? He's not in the modern era coach. We have a Jackson Dart, an offense got to harness him. Would you get Mike Tomlin right now?
I'm on the side of that. I love Mike Tomlin, Hall of Fame coach. I do think two things. With Mike Tomlin, you're going to have to bring in an A-plus offensive coordinator, period. And then, he's a big ego, so it's going to have to be somebody he likes. And secondly, like I'm a little bit on, and it hurts me to say this. That's why I think Belichick is going to have a tough time coming back. But that old school style of coaching, I don't know if it works anymore. Right? Your new style of coaching, Sean McVay, right? Fired up, everybody's great. We're going to get him. The old school, Tomlin. Well, fuck you. We'll figure it out. We got to play harder. I don't know if that plays anymore. I don't know. So I think there's better guys than him.
And then I got to get to the last one. Matt LaFleur. So is he going to get fired? Probably not, but is he on the hot seat? He's getting there. His seat's warming up, I'll tell you that right now. After that Philly game, after the way their offense has been struggling, they're 1-3 in games where their defense has held a team under 17 points. Remember, they lost to the Browns, they lost to the Panthers, and they lost to the Eagles. All three of those games, their defense played outstanding. Outstanding in those games. Jeff Hafley, really good defense coordinator. So that's the problem with Matt LaFleur right now. Why is the offense not doing anything? A lot of people are saying maybe Jordan Love. But I'll bring this up to you. Likely it doesn't happen. But I'll tell you this. The Giants beat the Green Bay Packers. Matt LaFleur on the hot seat. Eventually the Packers fire him and the Giants hire him because Jameis Winston goes off and beats the Packers. How likely is that scenario?
Slim to none. Here's the thing. There's a lot of talk around Matt LaFleur here, and I heard smart guys bring this up the other day. And it's like, if you look at Matt LaFleur's career with Aaron Rodgers and without Aaron Rodgers, it's a slightly different career, whether it's playoff wins. And the bottom line is, yeah, you got a lot of your big, 13-4 seasons deep in the playoffs. You had one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL history, right? Slinging the ball for you in his fucking, still in his deep prime. Jordan Love's good, but he's not fucking, you can see. He's known if this guy, I'm kind of like, if he's an offensive mastermind, which he tries to portray himself, dude, you haven't put over 14 points at the last 3 games against okay teams. So he's getting a little bit of, I feel like Matt LaFleur is a little stiffy type of guy. He wouldn't be my first, like, would I rather get Belichick than him? Yeah. Would I rather that, who Mike keeps on bringing up is, who? McCarthy.
Your guy. That's the guy you said last week.
McCarthy. And Mike was kind of, he's kind of where I'm at, which is like, is he somebody that's going to, make you jump out of your chair, but he brings a couple things you need, which is A, the stability line you're bringing in. At the end of the day, McCarthy wins games. He's like a 60%, 65% winner. He works good with young quarterbacks. He just does. I mean, people forget, as much as I want to beat him up, dude, he had the Cowboys in like 12-4 back-to-back seasons and playoff wins. They can't even get fucking close to the playoffs now. So it's like, if he was that bad of a coach, right? The Cowboys were a tough team when he was coaching those guys.
Right, he developed Aaron Rodgers. He was able to win a Super Bowl with him. Dak was second in MVP voting with Mike McCarthy, so
Dude, he
he
was throwing
got
up
the best
38
out of Dak.
touchdowns a year. Do you remember that? He was putting up 38 touchdowns a year with.
He got the best out of Dak Prescott. He had 3 straight 12-5 seasons. So what is he going to bring you? He's going to bring you a professional coaching staff.
Let me
He's
ask
going to
you, the
get
Giant fan, Ryder Schwartz. Let me ask you, a Giant fan. If I said, "How would you like back-to-back 12-5 seasons?" What would you do for that? I might jump out the fucking window.
I would do a lot for that. I would pay a lot of money, do a lot of things for 12-5, back to back to back. The knocks on Mike McCarthy. There's really 2 big knocks on him. Number one, his offense is a little bit outdated, right? He's a quick guy. He's not an offensive mastermind, right? He'll probably rank 13th, 14th, 15th coach in terms of offensive thinking, which I'll take, but he's a little bit outdated. The other knock on him, and from my perspective, the Giants haven't had a winning season since 2022, but outside of that, it's 1 year and 10. We're 1 in 10 in winning seasons, not good, right? 10% chance of that happening. So I'll take a winning season, but the knock on him is he can't win in the big games. He lost 2 really bad playoff games in the Dallas Cowboys as a head coach. To the Niners, to the Packers. At home, both of them. With the Packers...
I remember that Jordan Love game.
You do, right? You remember? And I was so happy to see that game as a Giants fan. Then with the Packers, he only won once. With Aaron Rodgers, a top 5 quarterback of all time, right? There were many games he lost to the Niners, field goal kick. With the Packers, where they couldn't win.
Right.
So,
very legitimate line. I don't worry about the Dallas because Dallas. I mean, the way I look at Dallas, he was there kind of a short time. I mean, if you're 12-5, you have a shot to win it. You know, history's proved itself. Is Dak a stud quarterback in the playoffs? No. But your other thing is a huge one, which is you had fucking Aaron Rodgers, and you mean to tell me you couldn't get a couple more out of that? I agree. That does worry me a little bit. 100%. What can I say? It worries me a little bit.
yeah, and here's the perspective that my dad brought up, which is actually a pretty bright perspective. So, picture this. You have maybe a Cam Ward, you have, maybe a Dak, you have maybe a J.J. McCarthy, a Jared Goff. In that case, if you're a bad team, 4 or 5 wins, consecutive seasons, you bring in a Tomlin, right? You bring in a McCarthy because what do you want? Stability, right? You want a 9-8, want a few 10-7s, you want some stability. We have Jackson Dart. We don't want stability. We don't want the 7 seed. I get we've been bad, but we want effing Super Bowls. Jackson Dart, right now, he looks like he has the talent to be a top 5 quarterback. Mahomes, Allen, Herbert talent. He has it. It's undisputable. You don't want 7 seeds. Look at Herbert. Herbert hasn't won a playoff game. You don't want that with a talent like Jackson Dart right now. You want Super Bowls. You want multiple. So that's the perspective where we need a hit on this guy. There is no first-year offensive coordinators coming in. There is no Jeff Hafley defensive coordinators. There's no defensive minds coming in. This better be a home run coaching hire because if it isn't, you're going to screw Jackson Dart up and you're going to screw up this chance of having a legit Super Bowl championship within the next 5 years because of how good he is. And you can't screw this up, and that's the biggest thing.
This is where your father needs to be on the line because I have to teach him the key word in this equation, which is patience. So in the history of the NFL, what do we know? We know that teams do not go from, you have to understand a couple of things, my friend. First, you have to be a realist in how bad are the Giants now? We fucking suck, dude. We are a fucking disaster. So we might win 4 games this season. So if you start to think we're going to go from 4-13 to 12-5, that's pipe dreams. So that's why I agree with Francesa. If this is, you've got to start looking at this potentially as a 2-step process, because to that point, we don't have enough to lure the coach like you're talking about. The coach you're talking about is who? They're all taken and they're not coming. That's Sean Payton. That's McVay, right? Those are those guys that come in. I would even say last year I thought maybe Pete Carroll could do that, but I think maybe he's a little too old. Those are guys that are going to take you from 0. We're not there yet. We're not ready for that yet. And I'm kind of on the Francesa thing where you got to bring a guy in that is a fucking team and organization stabilizer. We have a mission. Here's how we go about things. This is the way we go to battle. You got to get that freaking inside done right. You got to you cannot if you rush that. What ends up happening is you get yourself into a situation like we've got ourselves into, right? Which is I'll go back to when this whole started. Who's that guy from what's his name? With Eli, the guy from Green Bay. Now, if you remember the assistant coach you got from Green Bay, we've hired so many of the coach of the year candidates from the prior year. Assistant coach got the young guy that's going to be the quick program builder. You know where they've all ended up? Flopped on their fucking face. So when you flopped on your face trying to get that quick hit guy, the last 5 guys have been quick hit guys. You start to be smart and say, if I can't get a Shanahan, you're not going to get a Shanahan. If I can't get a McVay, I'm not going to get a McVay. That's why we were just going crazy about Andy Reid. I got to get somebody that can at least get me to a couple fucking seasons of 9-8 or something where I'm winning and I got culture back in my room. So, no, New York fans do not want the quick fix. New York fans want the smart hire.
And look, I'm not for a quick fix, a Band-Aid. I'm not for the young guy. I don't want to hire a coordinator. We can't. We can't take a risk.
There is no coach that fits your profile. There is no guy that comes in here and goes from this year to the playoffs. There's no guy. There's no like magic maker.
But what I'm saying is that, I mean, look, there's probably 2 to 3 guys who could do that. And Kevin Stefanski's one of them. Mike McCarthy is one of them. And you could probably argue that with a good offensive coordinator, Bill Belichick is one of them. But my point is that I'm not looking for mediocrity coach. I'm not really looking, like, I'll take Mike Tomlin, I will, but I'm not really looking for a John Gruden. I'm not really looking for a Mike Tomlin, because that brings you mediocrity. That brings you 9-8.
So this is where
8-9.
This is where good Francis information was on Gruden, because everybody's like Gruden's a candidate, and Gruden's like, so Francis. I don't know if you heard Francis's thing. He's like, here's how the Giants will never hire John Gruden. They're like, John Mara has got like one of the closest relationships to the NFL office. They're like, he will never hire somebody that the NFL has an issue with. And I'm like, there you go. That's it. That's it.
Never. And he's never going to hire Brian Flores because Brian Flores sued the Giants. So that's never happening. But what I'm saying is that we have this quarterback, right? So we're not looking, we don't have a Ryan Tannehill. We're not looking for 9-8. We're looking for Super Bowls. So then I go look at the past couple years. And these guys aren't on the market. There's probably not one close to this guy in the market. But it can be done in a year. You can have that quick flip. The Chargers were 5-12, 11-6 the following year. The Patriots were 4-13. It's a very similar situation. The Patriots stunk. And then now they're about to be the 1 seed. What do they have? They have the quarterback. We do.
Very different situations. I'm going to break them down because I've heard this exact analysis. Now, the Patriots got the perfect solution. Patriots got the perfect solution. What did they do? They had a quarterback that, I'll be honest with myself, is better than Dart. They had a better team developed. Their free agency this last year, if you look at their defense, their free agency, all fucking Vrabel did was pick all his studs from fucking Tennessee. But they brought the perfect coach in. You're talking culture. You're talking respect. And that motherfucker can walk in that locker room, Ryder, unlike any other coach in the Giants, with 3 rings on his finger. We used to talk about that. You know how coaches get respect? You walk in the locker room with rings on your finger and say, who wants some of these? You want some of these? So that, and then the other example you used is a bad example because you're talking about the one college coach everybody knew was a home run. And they got a quarterback there that'll have to, I'd be honest with myself, is better than Dart. And then he went to a team loaded with wide receivers. Keenan Allen's the 3rd wide receiver, dude. He'd be our number 1 here.
But last year, look, and I'm not saying there's a coach on the market that can equally compare to either of those 2 guys. But what I am saying is the quick fix, that's on the market, and that's what we need. We need to flip it, and we need to flip it fast. Because you just told me that Drake May last year had 10 picks, 15 touchdowns. Basically a full season. Jackson Dart has 10 touchdowns passing, 7 rushing, only 3 interceptions. Jackson Dart right now is 10 times the player Drake May was last season. And Jackson Dart right now is a Jackson Dart right now, I would take him over 90% of the guys.
Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to yourself. So there's a thing we old pros that have watched enough football call the eye test, right? All you got to do is watch. When you watch enough football like I have, I can tell you, I love Dart. I love Dart to death. He's not even in the same class as Drake May. And you know that. Anybody that's watched, Drake May throws the ball so much better, is a precision guy, has so much more control of reading defenses. He looks like he's a 7th-year pro. Dart runs around nervously with nervous feet. Dart's great because he's an athlete and he's a hustler, but you can't compare those two guys now.
I'm not comparing Drake May 2nd year to Jackson Dart 1st year, right? I'm a Drake May lover. I said he was going to be a top 10 quarterback of all time before the draft happened. I'm talking about Drake May in year 1. Talking about Drake May year 1, not year 2. Year 1 Drake May, Jackson Dart looks better than year 1 Drake May.
As Dart's been actually coached fairly well. Like, I think one of the good things about Dart this year, take everything away. Dable did a good job with Dart. He did. Dable did a good job with Dart this year.
I'm not with you there. Jackson Dart came into that Chargers game with no chemistry. He didn't play one snap with the first team reps. Came in that Chargers game looking like he came in against the Bears. He looked equally the same. I'm not going to sit here and say that Daboll helped him progress. He came in looking good. You can't give that to Daboll. Daboll just got fired for nearly running him into the ground. He's been checked for a concussion 4 different times. If anything, Daboll's hurt this guy. Jackson Dart, look at the Patriots situation last year. Right? They were throwing to no one. They had a pretty beat-up O-line. Same situation for the Giants right now. Jackson Dart throwing to practice squad players, running to practice squad offensive linemen and running backs with no defense. Same situation the Patriots had last year. What happened last year? They had to take Drake May out because of the concussion. It's very similar. Where is it different? With the hiring. There is no Mike Vrabel, ex-Giant with 3 rings, who can come in and make that magic happen.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is.
It's Mike McCarthy, and that's it.
No, yes, there is, dude. It's Bill Belichick. That's exactly what. That's why do you think the Giants are so focused on? Why do you think? And I hate that he came out and basically said, "I'm not coming to the Giants." But why do you think? Like, trust me, if Coughlin were 10 years younger, they'd be coming after Coughlin right now. I guarantee you. But why do you think they want fucking Bill so much? Because he can walk in the room, even though they're 1980s rings, and be like, "See this? You want to get back to fucking." That's why they're all over him. They want to get somebody. The other guy that's getting some attention, we talked about him before, but now it's interesting. They don't think he's head coach material.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yep. Right? I mean, because listen, Pierce is your last guy that's actually been part of a Giant winning organization.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I've heard that, and that's on the top 3. There was a list put out. The fan said it. He's a top 3 guy you got to keep your eye on. And does he fit the criteria of an ex-Giant? Super Bowl, I'm going to win over the locker room. Hell yeah. Is he a head coach? Hell no. He's not a head coach. You saw this with the Raiders. He's just not a head coach, so I'd be very opposed to that hire, especially because he's not an offensive mind who can harness Dart's talent. Would I bring him in as my defensive coordinator? In a heartbeat. I'd bring him in as my coordinator in a heartbeat. He's never even been a coordinator. He was the linebacker coach who was elevated to the interim head coach with the Raiders. Never even been a coordinator, but I would hire him as my coordinator. But another guy who you mentioned him earlier, and I thought you were going to say this right now, who was on that list along with Lou Anarumo from the Colts. A guy who's been with the Giants. A guy who's been a really good defensive coordinator who had a stint with the Giants. And I think you know who I'm talking about, Steve Spagnuolo. That's another guy on that list. What do you think of Steve?
So, you know, the word around Steve in the pros is he's had a couple runs at being a head coach. He had the Rams run, absolutely blew up in his face. You know, so you know, he's kind of like that that Rex Ryan thing where a lot of guys are like, at this stage, he's not really a head coach. He's really proven himself at a lot of those guys, like it's a risky thing. They've proven themselves at, you know, Francesa does again. I hate to go back to Mike, but now you got me back on Mike. But he had a whole diatribe, I'm sure you listened to, which is, let me tell you the difference between being a coordinator and a fucking head coach. And he's like, a coordinator, you just sit in the room and you do game plans and you give that. He's like, when you're a head coach, you're the CEO. You're dealing with the media. You're dealing with the fucking the league. You're dealing with everything. It's a whole different job. You can tell, you can tell that overwhelmed Dable. He did not know how to handle the other stuff. So that's a long way of saying I think Spags has proven himself. Great defense, just like the guy you said from Cleveland, Schwartz. Schwartz, he's taken a couple runs at head coaching jobs, and they fucking flopped, and he's like, fuck that.
100%, right? So I'm not for that. Your top three guys, my top three guys, Stefanski, Bill Belichick, and Mike McCarthy. I'd take any one of them right now. That's it for me.
That's it. I love all three. I'll take any three right now. Your ultimate. I'd love to have Belichick with Stefanski as the offensive coordinator.
Take it. If Stefanski's fired, I would do it. You know what? I would also bring, doubt he would do it, but I bring Kiffin as my offensive coordinator, and people are saying, which I don't think it's happening, Mike McDaniels, if he's fired, I don't think he will be. I'd bring him in as my coordinator, though.
I love him. I think he saved his job. That's the other dream scenario. There's a couple dreams you and I talked about. There's a dream scenario in New York where you get Belichick, and they're like, maybe the guys are talking because they're both in college, but you get Belichick as head coach, then you get Lane Kiffin as the offensive coordinator. Yeah, that'd be the dream. Like, but
Watch
a lot
out.
of guys are like, they're like, is Lane Kiffin going to want to do an offensive coordinator job? He'll probably want a head coaching job. I'd love that. McCarthy's McDaniel's been talked about, but they're like, McDaniel would probably want the head coaching job. Would you take McDaniel as a head coach? Did I lose it? Would you take McDaniel as a head coach? Hold on. Did I lose it? I'm back. I'm in the car. Would you take McDaniel?
You're saying would I take McDaniel as my head coach?
Yeah. Would you?
You're saying take McDaniels?
Would you? I'm in the garage, buddy. Sorry. Would you take McDaniel as a head coach?
I'd have to see what he does.
I mean, my only
To see what he does with the rest of the season. I'd have to see.
Listen, if you're a believer that it's more Tua's fault there than McDaniel, you could make an example that McDaniel's a good coach. Because that first year with Tua, when he had shit going, let's be honest with ourselves. That team was fucking nasty.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't mind it. I would probably still prefer McCarthy. I'd still prefer Stefanski, and I'd still prefer Belichick. But would he be four? Yeah, I would take him. Because he's an offensive guy. He's smart. I don't know how well he'd handle that New York media. I don't know how well he can win over a locker room. But you look at Miami, those guys are still fighting for him. They're fighting for the guy.
They're still fighting for him. He's part of that, what's his name? That San Francisco, he's part of that great tree, right? You know what I mean? Like, everybody in that tree is pretty much a pretty good coach.
So last thing, and then we're going to jump to the big games, and then we're going to hit the Giants and we'll be out of here within 10. Last thing. This guy has been talked about, and I'm sure Francesca brought this up, the fan, and there's really one reason why this guy's been talked about. Because of his connection and stability that he brings to Jackson Dart. And we will see how the next 7 weeks pan out. But it's Mike Kafka. If Mike Kafka goes 5-2, 4-3, the team looks rejuvenated, better, he might very well get a stint at head coach next year. Would you be opposed to that if he goes 4-3, 5-2, and we see Dart come in a few weeks looking a lot like he was and even better?
Frances had a funny piece on that. You know what his take was? And it was interesting. Mike was like, Kafka looks like a head coach. He's like, even more so than Dable, meaning the way he speaks, he's authoritative, you know what I mean?
Yes.
He kind of has that, and I thought it was a funny take, because Mike's like, we don't have much to go on, but he's like, I can tell you that he has that presence of a head coach. So that's better than not. I mean, McDaniels doesn't. McDaniel looks like he's an accountant.
Yes.
That's up there giving you some type of data sheet. So I thought that was interesting. We'll see.
Yeah, and Kafka is a very smart guy from Northwestern. He worked with Patrick Mahomes, was the quarterback coach. He is 38 years old, so he's a younger guy. But you said it yourself, and Francesca did too. He's more of the CEO presence. I'm the top dog, you listen to me type of guy. And look, If he goes 5-2, 4-3, this team is competitive. We win games, and Jackson Dart, when he comes back, looks comfortable. I would not mind giving this another stint because of his connection with Dart. All right, let's jump to some big games in Week 11. It's one of the best slates you'll see this entire year. There's a bunch of games, and we will hit on them. All right, let's start with the Panthers-Falcons. All right, so the Panthers-Falcons game, it is the second matchup. Panthers won 30-0 in game one. This is in Atlanta. Atlanta's favored 3.5 points.
Listen, I'm going to go to you because you might have a better beat on than me. Very confused. I don't know what team's going to show up here. This is Atlanta team. I think, like our guys have been talking about, Morris may be on the chopping seat. I can't figure out Carolina. 1 week, they look like an upset killer. Next week, they look like an absolute crappy team. I am not sure. I'll probably, if you put a gun to my head, I would say it's more of a must-win for Atlanta. What do you think?
Look, both these teams are middle of the pack, right? They're both middle of the pack in scoring percentage in the red zone. They're both middle of the pack. The point where the Falcons will beat you is their defense, right? They'll beat you with their defense. That's where Atlanta is. But then you take a look at this stat. NFL team opponent rushing yards per game. Atlanta's 29th in the league, right? They're supposed to be one of the best in yards per game. They stink with the run. And I took the Panthers when they played originally. I'm going to go the Panthers here. What's the difference between these two teams and why am I taking them? It's coaching. Go look at Raheem Morris. He's a bad coach. What are they, 3-5? They blow game. Like him, huh? He's a bad coach. I don't like him. I love Dave Canales, offensive coordinator for the Bucs. I think he works Bryce Young very well, gets the best out of him. And Rico Dowdle, we talked on it last week. He's revived his career. He's playing like a top 5 running back. Give me the Panthers on the road to cover here. I will take them.
How about a win-loss? Give me the money line.
Money line, give me the Panthers. Give me the Panthers.
Okay, Panthers money line.
Give me the Panthers here. All right, now we got another really good game on slate. We got the Buccaneers in Buffalo. Buffalo is favored by a whopping 6.5. They're basically asking you, do they win by a touchdown or not? And your take is, Mr. Rowe.
So this is where I'm split on this one. Because I go two ways on this. On money line, on covering the bet, I will take the Bucs to cover that all day long. I think the Bucs cover that. I'm going to steal our big guy's comment on what I heard this morning before I was talking to you. Something is wrong with Buffalo. Not sure what it is yet, but we can all see it. Something is wrong with Buffalo. So I will take that. On the money line, I am not sure. I'm not sure win or loss. I'm not sure if Tampa can pull out the win. Straight win in Buffalo. I feel like it's a must-win for Buffalo. What do you think?
So there was a game, I believe it was Bills-Panthers a couple weeks back. The Bills were off a bye, off a brutal loss to the Falcons. The Panthers were rolling, and I said, give me the Panthers. And the Bills demolished the Panthers. So you look at this week. What happened to the Bills last week? They got demolished on the road in Miami. Very embarrassing. They have severe issues. Sean McDermott's not a great head coach. He's a good head coach. But what will he do? He'll have his get-right games and he'll bounce back. I like the Bucs. I was tempted to take them up until right now when I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills. This is their get-right game at home in Buffalo. Look, Tampa's warm. Buffalo's cold. We're in November, middle of it. Give me the Bills here. It's going to be a run-heavy game. Look at James Cook. And the Bucs are banged up. I don't think Bucky Irving's going to be back. We'll go Buffalo, money line, and a cover.
Bucky Irving's not back. He's my fantasy guy. Super alarming. I actually really like your take on that one. I really like your take. I don't like warm weather guys going to Buffalo. I actually want to check the weather on that. Because if it's a warm day, I think it actually skews better for Tampa. If it's a cold day, 100% your take. I do like that. I mean, my only thing pushing me on that is I just know what a dog Baker is, and Baker knows they've lost too many games. If they want a playoff run, they have got to get this thing going kind of now.
Right, this is an excellent game. There's incredible games this week. Like I said, it's one of the best weeks you'll see. It's going to be a great game. The weather is going to be 39 degrees tomorrow, with a low of 31. So it's going to be chilly. It's going to be pretty cold. A lot colder than it is in Tampa Bay, I'll give you that. So I'm going to stick with the Bills here. I think they get right. But look, Baker's a dog. Could he fight his ass off and win another game he's not supposed to? Hell yes. He does it all the time. That's what makes him so special. Let's get to Bears in Minnesota. These two teams played Monday Night Football, Week 1. J.J. McCarthy had his special fourth quarter comeback. Vikings here, quite surprisingly, at home favored 2.5. What are you thinking?
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry about that. I like the Vikings all day long in this game. I like them on the line, and I like them on the straight bet. I think the Bears are a shit team. The only reason they won last week is that the Giants suck. I think the Vikings are a pretty good team, much better coached. Even though I like what's his name as a coach, but I like Vikings are one of my favorite coach teams. So I'll take the Vikings all the way around here.
I am completely on the opposite side. I will take the Bears, and I think the Bears will win with authority. So here's my problem. J.J. McCarthy might be the most inconsistent, erratic, up-and-down quarterback I've ever seen. He had a great game versus the Detroit Lions in Detroit where they win. He had a great fourth quarter comeback against the Bears. He looked absolutely atrocious versus the Baltimore Ravens. He was awful. He was my fantasy quarterback. He was awful. 2 interceptions, blew that game, couldn't do anything for the life of him. They're at home here. I'm getting 2.5 with the Bears, who have a very good run game with DeAndre Swift. They got a new rookie in town. The Colston Loveland's a rise. What have you seen from Caleb Williams? Less turnovers. He's been less erratic. He's been more calm. And Ben Johnson is a very good play caller. He's going up against the coach in Minnesota, McDonald. But give me the Bears here to cover, to win. The Bears are going to win this game.
Okay, we differ.
Bengals have a very important game here. Bengals in Pittsburgh. What are you hearing from the Bengals? Joe Burrow.
Steelers all day. So this is your Steelers all day long. It's a back against your wall must win for Steelers. Period.
Yes, 100%. I'm taking the Steelers here. The Bengals are going to be fighting because Joe Burrow could be coming back, but the Steelers need this, and these are games the Steelers win. 4.5 is a big line for this game, but I will take the Steelers to cover and to win. Niners. I was wrong. The Niners did not play well last week. They disappointed me very much against their rival, the Rams. They will be traveling to Arizona. Jacoby Brissett has been playing very well. Trey McBride has 2. Niners 2.5-point favorites. Brock Purdy will be back. Give me the Niners. What are you thinking?
Niners all day long. Easy bet.
Easy bet. Coaching.
Arizona's a shit show. Arizona's a shit show. Coaching.
Coaching. This might be top 3. There's 3 great games. Eagles, Lions, Chiefs, Broncos, Seahawks, and Rams. These are the big ones. So this is what I'm getting my popcorn out for. Seahawks and the Rams, they're the 2 best teams in the league, in my opinion. 2 best teams in the league. I love them. I love the Seahawks. They're traveling to Los Angeles as 3.5-point dogs. Give me the Seahawks to win and to cover.
I love the Seahawks this year. This is a Francesa special this week. I love the Seahawks this year. Problem is, they're going into the den of possibly very few times are you going into a place where you could possibly be out-coached with a better quarterback. They just hit 1 and 2 there. They're going to be out-coached with a better quarterback. Give me the Rams.
Yeah, that's my concern is coaching. Mike McDonald's a very good young defensive coordinator, but he's going up against the best.
I love him, dude. Let me tell you something. I can't tell you how much I love the Seahawks. They're probably 3rd on my list. But you do just what you and I talked about. You're going into a chess master's den. Period.
Talking about coaching, Andy Reid travels to Broncos Stadium facing the Sean Payton.
Must-win Kansas City game. Give me Kansas City.
Give me the Denver Broncos here. I love Kansas City in this one, but they're 3.5-point favorites. I'm taking the Broncos to cover, but the Chiefs to win. Broncos at home.
That's a tight, tough cover, but I would put the house on the Chiefs to win.
Yes, I'd take the Chiefs money line any day of the week here because they need to win. They cannot lose this one. All right, Monday Sunday Night Football. Lions travel to Philadelphia. Philadelphia's 2.5-point favorites here, and I love the Lions to win and to cover.
I don't know. This is a tough one. This is a tough one for me. Part of me wants to take Detroit. I don't think Philly's a good team right now. Brown looks like he's about to cause a lot of problems there. But it could be one of those games where Brown gets the ball 10 times or 120 yards this game. Who knows? I like the fact that Dan Campbell's taken over play calling. Hold on, dude. I'm spaced out. I got to bail on this transaction. Cancel. Hold on.
No, I'm with you, Mr. O. I'm completely with you. Give me the Lions because although they're giving up the third most fantasy points to receivers, the run game has been electric. Jahmyr Gibbs, Aiden Hutchinson's making a case for Defensive Player of the Year, and this is a really good opportunity for the Lions to get a jump on this division. Packers 5-3-1. Give me the Lions here because this can give them the edge in this division. I'll take the Lions to win. Let's wrap it up, Mr. O. Green Bay travels to New York.
What do you think?
7.5-point favorites.
Listen, New York's going crazy because what are we getting behind? Can we have the Jameis show? Listen, I can take you back in history. Go back last year. Denver, best defense in the league. They walk into Cleveland. What does Jameis do? He puts up about 45 points on them. Remember that?
Yep.
Throwing bombs. I think he threw for 450 yards. So that's what Giant fans are getting behind. Can we get a Jameis, sling it out?
I'm telling you right now, Mr. O. I'm telling you right now, the Giants are going to win the football game. The Giants are going to win this outright. I'm telling you right now. Giants are winning this football game.
You're very convinced.
I'm convinced 100%. Jameis, first game in, look what he did against the Ravens last year with the Browns. 3 touchdowns, 330 yards. First game in, Jameis is electric. It's the second and third where he falls off. The Giants are winning this football game. With conviction, I say it. They will win this game, and might I say, this might be the game that gets Matt LaFleur fired.
How many yards does he throw for? Get me excited.
I'm telling you right now, he's going to throw 4 touchdowns. He'll have 1 rushing touchdown. He's going to throw for 325 yards. I'm telling you right now. Giants win. That's the storyline heading into next week. Giants win. Mike Kafka is your next head coach. Matt LaFleur's on the hot seat. It's all going to be looking good for the New York Football Giants now that Brian Daboll's out.
I love it, dude. I love your whole analysis.
I'm with you, Mr. O. You have a great day. Enjoy your Saturday. There's some great college football. We got Texas, Georgia, Oklahoma, Bama, and we got a great slate of NFL football tomorrow following into a nice Monday night game between the Raiders and Cowboys. Enjoy it. The Knicks won last night. Football will turn around for us soon, just like it did for basketball. Enjoy your weekend, Mr. O. It's been great, and we are out.
Schwartzy, impressive run today.
Yes, sir. You have a great day, Mr. O.
Thank you. You got it, buddy.